happens. If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening and welcome to the HHH Racing Podcast, episode 11 of Great Race Plays, our weekly coverage of the late pick four at beautiful Santa Anita Park for Sunday, March 2nd. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button on the bottom right hand side of the screen. We are very close to 5,000 subscribers, and we need your help, especially if you're on the West Coast and you're watching on Santa Anita's X handle or their YouTube channel. Please go to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. We greatly appreciate your support. You can also hit the notification bell on the top right so that you know when new content will arise, because due to work obligations, usually the show is on Thursday nights. We moved it this week only to this evening, Wednesday night. And then, of course, smash that like button below the video player. We'd greatly appreciate that as well. Big weekend in Santa Anita, guys. It is Big Cap weekend. Of course, the Big Cap is on Saturday. We are covering an excellent late pick four on Sunday. Just big weekend all the way around. The San Felipe, Pete and Paul, with Barnes versus Rodriguez versus Journalism and other great stakes. One of my favorite horses in training, Locked, is running in the Big Cap. If I get 8-5, I will be doing something unreasonable with a win bet, because I think he is literally a lock in that race. Big weekend, guys, out west coming up.
Yeah,
How are we doing?
Fantastic. What's going on, guys? Long time no see. For anyone who
The
doesn't know,
light is following me, and I'm in a different
It's-
spot. So clearly, this
it's-
is not. This is something,
you are
something
angelic
going on here, Pete.
today, my friend. You are very much angelic today. It's very impressive.
The weather is great out there, guys. It's just going to be a big weekend in Santa Anita. I'm very excited for all of you. I wish I could be out there, but you know what? I will be somewhere. I will not be home. I didn't mention on another show. I will have a little reunion with my wonderful, our wonderful younger co-host. I will be seeing Noah Maher and Patrick Hunzel this weekend, as I'm going to Lexington, Kentucky to see my first UK basketball game ever. And they just have me playing the number one team in the country, Auburn. So I'm very excited to check out Big Blue Nation in person. What's funny, guys, is I went to IU, and I frankly used to hate Kentucky back in the day, and I'm not a big fan of Calipari, but they're a very likable team. Mark Pope's done a great job, and I'm excited to support Big Blue Nation this weekend. So that'll be sort of fun. And Sunday, guys, I'll be betting from Casa de Noah Maher, and I guarantee you I'll be playing the slate pick four at Santa Anita on Sunday, because it is very nice. Did you guys look at the San Felipe real quick, or the Big Cap Saturday? Any quick thoughts if you did? And if you didn't, that's totally fine, because I know we have to handicap a lot of races here on our network on a weekly basis.
I have not looked at it yet, to be very honest with you, because I was trying to do all my homework for my professor Howard to get a good.
I
grade.
did it as I watched Pacific Horse Players last night. I watched Pacific Horse Players live and had the PPs next to me. I like Barnes, and I'm chalking it up. I like Barnes and Locked in those two, but seeing Barnes and Rodriguez in Journalism is going to be awesome.
Way to go out on a limb there, Pete.
I mean, what do you want me to do? You like who you like, right? You like who you like.
I'm just
What are you
kidding.
gonna do?
I might do something I don't usually do very often, which is play a large, somewhat chalky pick three. What's wrong with playing a pick three at getting 6-1? I mean, if I gave you a 6-1 tomorrow, Peter, Paul, and it hits, we'd be ecstatic, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I
you don't
like
have
it.
to stretch. You don't have to stretch out to the 5 or the 4 if you only like 3 of the races. That's sort of the lesson. By the way, we have a 50-point race today. It's just outside of the card we're talking about. It's a 50-point Oaks race, right? The Santa Isabel is
yes,
50-pointer. It's outside of our races, but
correct.
But it's funny because it has a similar but less talented setup to what we were talking about in our prior show in terms of the 6-horse field for 50 points and a couple of horses that maybe aren't worthy of Oaks consideration in the field.
Yes. Bittersweet. Yes. The notification bell is it's beneath the video. No, I don't think it is. I thought it was in the top right, but okay. The like button is below the video play. I'm not sure that's right, Bittersweet, but anyway, people will find it. Ralph Conte, by the way, likes the countdown music better. I have nothing
I
to do
do
with that.
too. I do
Do
too.
you? That is all StreamYard. So you can thank our software company for that. I have nothing to do with that. Let's go on with the late pick four, guys. Sunday at Santa Anita. I don't know how you guys feel as we start this opening leg, but I'm starting to get a real nice feel for these Northern California races. And actually, Paul and I, maybe Pete, you too, I shouldn't give you short shrift, but I just sorry. I know off the top of my head that Paul, you and I have picked the winner of some of these Northern California, uh, horses in these races a decent amount. Pete, I think you've had a winner or two as well with these Northern California horses. Look, you got to learn their form also, guys. So it's not really that simple. And the first race is a big field of Northern California restricted horses. It's race 8. So the late pick 4 on Sunday starts at 3:30 local. That's 6:30 on the East Coast. It's a nickel claimer. They're going 1 mile on the dirt. It's a big field of 10 with 3 AEs. We'll see if they get in the race. Let's see who we're going with, guys, to start off a very challenging and exciting late pick 4 as I go ahead and find our picks on the screen. Here they are. I'm going 5, 4, 8. Paul's going 8, 1, 5, and Pete's going 1, 8, 5. There's the Pete and Paul show going the same 3, but
No,
in this case,
Howard.
No,
nope,
those are our
those are the previous
Gulf
one.
Stream
My bad.
picks. Yeah.
My bad. Ignore that, everyone. Let's try this. How about that? I'm going 297. Paul's going 2127. And Pete is going 924. Let me repeat that again. Greatly apologize. Those first picks that I gave out were for a different show. Again, late pick 4 is Santa Anita. I'm going 297. Paul 2127. Pete 924. So Paul and myself are going with the same. Pete, let's start with you to open the pick 4. You're going with Super Mazel for Bondi and Orantes, a 7-year-old from the 9 hole. What do you like about this horse?
Yeah, this was. I thought this was, and we're going to talk about it. And you could see our picks differ enough in some respects to where this one's pretty wide open. A couple things I liked, and you talked about with the Northern California horses coming down. I think it'll get easier as they run more races at Santa Anita, and you get to see a little bit of form. And even when they tend to run against each other, which is beneficial as well. This one had a nice third, so it was claimed now into the Jeff Bondi barn, but ran a nice third. It was a little too far back, probably. The horse up front got away and just sort of ran away. But I did like that. I think this horse can sit probably mid pack. There's not a ton of pace to close into, which is the problem. But I think this horse has shown some ability to be a little bit closer and not be stuck like in that last race, which was a little bit awkward, a little too far back. I think maybe the hope was just sort of needed that last one. Now, second time at this level. Again, now we're in a different barn. The trip was really weird. Sort of had a avoid a horse as it was coming down the lane, then ran on well late and sort of came home best. So I think it's a little better than it looked on paper. But I'm hoping second time at Santa Anita, second time at this level, maybe we get a little bit of a better trip, a little bit of a cleaner trip, and has races on the page that can definitely win this. So I'm hoping if we can recapture that, then I think has a shot to beat this field, which again is really pretty even, I think, across the board.
Yeah, this was a little bit of a class play for me. I like the claim to Bondi, by the way, also. And look, the horse has been going against, 16 down to 14. I see an N1X lower down the page and at Pleasanton. I mean, based on the field, Pete, this horse has got a lot of class. I'm sure that came into your thinking as well as myself with this.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, 7-year-old, so you don't know the older they get, but then and the buyers have sort of started to maybe go the wrong way a bit. But again, now we're at a level, and I think with these Northern California horses, when you bring them into Santa Anita, especially, you see them and they're running against the other Northern California horses, but you don't know what level they belong at. And I think that'll sort of work itself out as they run a couple times. So hopefully this one now is like, you know what? This seems like maybe a comfortable level and we can get a cleaner trip. And I think this one just fits here.
Well, not only that, Paul, I mean, they're only writing a certain amount of races for these Northern California horses, right? So you got to run where you can run unless you want to run against, I shouldn't say open company. That sounds way too disrespectful to our Northern California horsemen. But if you're not going to run these restricted races, you're running against horses that have been running down in Southern California or other jurisdictions, and it's more difficult. You and I are both going to go with Noldy. I don't know if Nick is going to be there or not, but anyway, talk about class, Paul. I mean, geez, 16 claimers, 16 claimers, starter allowance. I mean, this horse is definitely got class. I am slightly worried that, he's a little bit of a closer and that he's 9. But again, there's a lot of horses that look like could be a little bit cheap speed. He's got the inside. Frey is very capable. This to me is very likely winner here if he gets the right trip. I know he was horrible last time, but I'm sort of tossing that out, which could be a mistake. I'm guessing this horse is 5-2, 3-1 morning line, so I'm not really getting cute, and neither are you.
Yeah, and one area that I've tried to follow, and you talked about, we've had a little success, is the Northern California horses who have a start, or in this case, 2 starts, in switching circuits. And look at, I get it, folks. Some people are going to look at this race and say, "Oh my God, Santa Anita's running a $5,000 claiming race." Hey, folks, they're trying to save racing in California. Okay, they need more horses. They need bigger fields. They're writing races specifically for these horses to incentivize the Northern California trainers who have nowhere else left to run. All the tracks are closed, in case you haven't noticed. So, water will seek its own level over time. Some of the, we got a 9-year-old, Howard, and this isn't the first 9-year-old we've picked in a race like this.
No.
These horses are going to age out at some point, and some of the younger ones are going to make it on this circuit, or they're not. But for now, running these races is absolutely the right thing to do. Now, I'm not telling you to go bet 1,000 to win on a horse in this race, but I'm telling you that you have a full field. Everyone wants full fields, and they need the horses in Southern California. So hats off to them for writing it. Having said all of that, I think the class was my key angle, Howard. You only have to go back a couple of months, 3 months, November, to a 74 buyer and a $16,000 open claimer, and I get it. That was at Pleasanton. I understand. I can read the abbreviations just like you can, but ran a very creditable second on this circuit for Pratt, 9-2 in a restricted race the first time. And as you say, last time, we'll just throw that out, and he's cutting in half the price of this race. So someone's got to win. They need to write it. Someone's got to win it. I think it's going to be the 2.
I agree. I think others you could use. Just throw some numbers out there. Obviously, the 7. Paul, I have your 12 also as a possible A/B. That could be in the mix. You don't want to be wide. This mile is a relatively short run into that first turn, and as we've seen, guys, especially out in Southern California or really anywhere, these mile 16th races throughout the country with short runs in the first turns, it really does favor speed or mid pack, and it also favors a little bit, at least, inside post. So keep all that in mind. Maybe it won't translate to a race filled with Northern California horses, but to me, class is a big part of these races, Paul, and it feels like that's been a common theme, and Pete too. Feels like that's been a common theme for the 3 of us, that, okay, maybe a horse is going a little bit further than they want, maybe a horse is shortening up, but when they're 10, 12 claimers running against 5, 6 claimers, Pete, that can make up for other shortcomings, no?
Yeah, I mean, you treat it no different. I mean, you treat it no different than you would any other race, really. If you look at a race and it's, hey, this horse has just been running against better. That I think the problem when some of the Northern California horses come over and they're in against other horses who are predominantly sort of Santa Anita horses, that's when I think it's a little trouble to sort of marry up the class and whether they'll class to that. But I think when they're all sort of in the races that are more made for the Northern Californias, I think the class is a big point. And sort of you assume it's going to translate, and you assume they're going to be similar to what they did at whatever other tracks they were running at prior.
Excellent points. Agree with all of them. Race 9, second leg of the pick 4 o'clock local, 7 o'clock on the East Coast. Nice race, allowance optional, 20 claimers. The rail is out 20 feet. Keep that in mind. Again, the further rail goes out, the more its speed plays better. That was not very good English, but you know what I mean. It's more advantageous. There we go. Try and find the right adjective. 6 furlongs. Again, this is for California breds as well, fillies and mares, older ones. We got a field of 8. We don't have morning lines. We don't have morning lines on the show, even when we do it on Thursday. So check the morning lines when they come out. I'm going to guess the number 8, Long May She Reign. Fantastic way, clever spelling. The number 8 for Glatt, and Gonzalez will most likely be the favorite, I would think. Let's see where we are going in race 9. I am going to chalk out here, as is Paul. I'm going 8-3-7. Paul's going 8-1-5. And Pete, I like this pick. He's going to go with the 3. He's going 3-7-8. Let's go to you first, Pete, because this is my second choice. Our good friend Paul does not have the 3 in the mix, not at least in the top 3. Raising Silver, Carla Gaines, Antonio Fresu, really nice combination there. Coming off a layoff, my angle was there's a little bit of meh in this race, and the 3 is the unknown with upside. I'm sure I just stole a little bit of your thunder. Please expound, Pete Visco.
No, that's part of it there, and you get a horse who tried turf for the first time, like you said, has only had 4 starts and only 1 on the turf, and actually ran pretty well. Had a lifetime buyer top, lifetime time form top, which you like to see, especially trying a new surface. And this was another one. I sort of had this in the last race. Had a weird trip, sort of had position outside, then dropped back, got shuffled, and then ran on late. I didn't understand it. I didn't know if it was Fresu, it was the horse, it was a little tight quarters. It was hard to know, but I thought the race is better than even it looked on paper. So doing that on the turf first time, I'm hoping for another move. We've been off 260 or so days, I think, since that last run.
Yep, it's right here, Pete. I'm sorry to interrupt. The 5 is in between horses here, I believe. The 5 is, I know that the on the bottom, it looks like the 5 is inside the 3, but I'm pretty sure that's not the case. We can't see the 5. The 5 is in between, and you made an excellent point. Raising Silver does, if you watch carefully, does get shuffled back, which did not help at all. You can see the chicklets again are a little bit misleading. I'll just let it run, and you can talk through the lane, Pete.
Yeah, and actually this horse too broke sort of sharply and was a little bit up close, and then sort of dropped back a bit. And you see there, you see it sort of lost position, was stuck there. And then I think just runs on late. Sometimes when a horse sort of loses the position like that, maybe they give it up a little bit. But I thought this one just ran on late. And again, it was the first time on the turf. So I give that a little bit more credit. And also it was in June of last year. Now we're coming back, first race of the 4-year-old season. The question, I guess, is will she be sharp off that long of a layoff? Carla Gaines, though, 24% wins, 48 in the money. First after a 240 to 300 day layoff, although she has lost the last 11 of those, so not on the more on a downswing right now, but at least I know she can maybe get a horse ready. I think in a field where I don't love anyone, I think you can pick holes in probably a few of them. I'll take a shot with a horse that, like you said, I think may have some upside, and hopefully we can realize it here.
I froze it here, Pete, and I'll bring it back to full screen. It looked like the 5 sort of lost the momentum, right, and got shuffled back, was on the wrong lead, if you notice, and goofy. But then you're going to see, like, regathered.
That's right? What I like.
Regathered and is fighting here. And actually, I like the fact the horse got third. Like, people are like, wow, well, Howard, the horse lost by 7. I get it. The other 2 just are much better and got away. But the fact that the horse regathered and showed me something, to me, tells a lot about the heart of the horse and maybe the ability. So it's very subtle. But if the horse had faded to 6th or 7th, I wouldn't have been nearly as interested. Just that extra regather to me means something, Pete.
That was 100% what right? That was 100% what I liked. And on the point of the layoff too, if you look, the works have been excellent. The last 4, see the last 4 works there. There's been some really nice work, so that hopefully means that this horse is sharp. And again, I think there's a lot to like in a horse that I don't think I agree with you. I think the 8 will probably be the favorite. I think maybe this one could float up just a little bit and we get a decent price.
I agree. I think Raising Silver is interesting. I have nothing to add. Paul, let's talk about the likely favorite here. We just expounded the virtues of the 3. In the meantime, Long May She Reign is going to say, long may she go to the lead and just wire the field and just win the race, because this horse looks 8-5 on morning line and probably even money odds. When the horse goes off, she's just in incredible form for Mark Latin. Will probably wire the field, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one will take some money, especially with Pratt. That is one thing that concerns me is the the jockey discrepancy here. But I did take a long look at the one, Howard, but the one for 14, I really, Pratt or no Pratt, I didn't want to land on 114. But you got Miati's winning at 24%, and Pratt is Pratt dominating out there. But I also thought, as you just intimated, trip wise, should get whatever trip she damn well pleases from the outside, which is typically just go. And I don't think we'll have a problem getting to the lead. The only chink in the armor could be if someone inside of her, and they're all inside of her, happens to go with her and presses her too much early. I could see Pratt getting a trip here where, because he is cutting back from a mile to 6, getting that trip where he sits like third, swings out, coming home, and goes by them. But I do think the 8's the most likely winner. Yes.
Schmelly, what's up, Schmelly? I don't think we've seen Schmelly in the chat. Howdy, gang. We have hundreds of people watching.
We're big in California. We are big in California.
Oh, California has been fantastic.
We are big.
We appreciate hundreds of people watching on Anita's X channel. If you're one of those people, we really do appreciate your support. We've got Racing Downwind. Dave Duncan is going 10-9. That is actually in the previous race, though, right? Yeah, that's the previous race. He's going 8. Yeah, there it is. He's going 8-1-3-7. David Duncan, Racing Downwind, excellent handicapper in this race.
By the way, this one's coming back 2 weeks, by the way. Sorry, you were going to talk about Jim.
No, I was saying we got Jim Pilares from Buffalo. We got people all over the country. He said, hello, all. Busy night, having catching up to do on the earlier part of the show. Jim, thanks for joining us. Go ahead, Pete.
No, I was going to say, this horse is running back in 2 weeks.
10 days.
Yeah.
That could be a problem.
It'll be 2 weeks by Sunday. It's only Wednesday, Pete.
We're working so hard, people. Paul,
today.
Give Paul a break. He's also in the middle of he's a basketball officiating, and so busy time of year if you're
so I don't want to hear how busy Jim Pilares is. Jim, get your ass in the comments on time, okay? Thank you.
Wow. Okay. Well,
I love Jim Pilares.
Guys, the 10-day layoff could be an issue. I mean, this eight is no sure thing, in my opinion, at all. But I don't know how many other options there are, so that will definitely help the 8. Let's go on to the next race, guys, which is race 10. Again, we are covering the Sunday late pick 4. Before we do that, guys, very quickly, 2 things. First of all, this will start the $5 late double, which is just, again, the betting menu and options at San Anita are awesome. But lately, guys, I've played the following bet that I want to promote. It is $1 base. However, it's a 15% player-friendly takeout. It's challenging and it pays. If you can hit this bet, you will get paid. What is this bet? Let's find out.
The first coast-to-coast pick 5.
An attractive pick 5 sequence featuring Gulfstream Park
and Santa Anita Park. Player-friendly 15% takeout.
A $1 minimum. Big pool.
Huge payout. First coast-to-coast pick 5 every Saturday and Sunday.
Really nice fields, guys, and it's going to combine on Saturday, especially. It's going to combine some big stakes at Gulfstream, which we previewed on our Picks and Ponies show, episode 397. With I believe, guys, the Big Cap and the San Felipe.
It's all graded stakes.
All graded stakes, $1. I love it. Coast
Fountain
to coast.
of Youth, I think. Fountain of Youth, Big Cap. The other,
yes,
and
then
the
turf races at
it's a nice one. Yeah, that's a real nice one.
They did a great job of keeping the Mind Frame Encino race out of that sequence, I think, because it's basically a 2-horse race. So good job by the racing secretaries and the people at First Racing, our wonderful friends there. Let's go on to race 10, ladies and gentlemen. It is coming up on the screen right now. Race 10 is a claiming race, 16 down to 14. It is not, I repeat, not restricted for Northern California horses. It is on the dirt, 6 furlongs. It also are horses that have not won 2. So it's conditioned 16 down to 14. It's a field of 8. There are quite a few Calbreds, but it's not a Calbred race. Let's see where we're going. I'm going 5-6-4. Paul's going 7-1-6, and Pete is going 8-6-7. Paul, let's go to you first. You're gonna go. Oh wow! What I just yeah. It just let's bring Paul. You know, it just hit me, Paul. I didn't think about it, and Paul, you'll explain to people why we're chuckling a little bit. He is going with the very likable, warm, and friendly Cody Boy for Ian Krujak and Herrera. Not sure. I think you're going to get a decent price on this horse, like 5 or 6 to 1. But Paul, explain to people that are not familiar with our podcast, or you in particular, why we're having a bit of a chuckle as you pick Cody Boy in race 10.
Well, of course, Cody's Wish and Cody Dorman and I don't play names, by the way, to be honest with you. But you know, if you were going to be inclined to play a name, a non-winners of 2 lifetime would be it. But no, I actually looked at the PPs, Pete, not just the name. And
wow,
one I said, well, geez, 1 for 15. Well, 1 for 23, 1 for 14, 1 for 9. They're all 1-fers, right? I think this horse is shot. So yeah, it's obviously the Cody Dorman and Howard. This horse was born 2 days after Cody's birthday.
Oh wow, how about that?
In case you want,
Kelly's going to find out. If you didn't pick Cody Boy, you're going to get a text from Kelly Dorman in a heartbeat. You know that.
Oh yeah. Oh no. I believe one of the times this horse ran in the last 3 races, he and I were texting back and forth. Probably the time he ran 8th. Anyway, yeah. Look I don't know. Second in this company last time, beat one of the horses in here. Competitive buyer. May have to get some pace to run at. I think there's some, not a lot. The 1 looks like he has some pace. I think the 5's going to go. I'm hoping someone else might go. Again, same as last race. You're not going to bet the house on anyone, but all things being equal, I think the horse has a shot on paper. I'm gonna stick with Cody.
It's a little weird they don't have the 5 in there, Pete. I think it's because the horse would only run maybe Northern California.
Doesn't have any time farm. Doesn't have.
Yeah, I just found that weird. The 5 is going to be up close, everyone. Just let you know. Yeah, I think Cody's Boy can win, but I think it's got to fall apart, in my opinion, which it might. It might. We'll see. Pete, you're going to go with the 8, Billy Joe Shaver. As far as I know, the horse is going to be in. The horse would be only coming off a week layoff. So
yeah,
I'm assuming Miati's going to enter this horse, who ran huge last time in a 25 claimer, non-winners of 2. That was on the turf, goes back to dirt. I didn't really know what to do with this horse, and I'm not 100% sure the horse will be in the race, but maybe I should just assume that he is and should have him in my top 3. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I didn't want to. I agree with you. I didn't want to not make the pick though, and the horse that I actually liked and not make the pick, and it stays in and winds up winning. But the thing that I did like, and 2 back, the win broke the maiden at maiden 20, had to sort of drop to get there. But the thing that I like is, and I talk about this a bunch on both shows today, is I just like you look for some improvement 3 to 4. Sometimes you get improvement 2 to 3, get improvements generally 3 to 4, and this horse came back and he gets the win first time as a 4-year-old, then moves up to claiming 25, runs a nice second on the turf. Now we're going back to the dirt where he's at a first and 2 seconds in the last 3 dirt races. The buyers have improved steadily in the last 4 races, so maybe just getting better. And Miati's been hot at the meet. There's a lot to like, so I think this one just maybe is on the improve, and I think should be getting. Probably, like you said, I think the time form is confusing because it doesn't have that 5 in there. But based on the 5 and the 1 could duel this out because they're pure speed. And if they do, I think like Cody Boy, Billy Joe Shaver, they could be sitting sort of in that 3-4 hole. And if those 2 just sort of back up from a speed duel, I think whoever gets first run might have a shot because, a lot of these in some of the cheaper races, sometimes you don't always get closers. They're not always the best at passing horses, but if you can get an advantageous trip and dying speed, then you might be in a good spot. That's what I'm hoping for if this horse runs.
I want to be very clear to everyone listening, watching live or replays with my choice number 5, Blazing Pemmy or Blazing Pem. If the 8 is in the race, I would downgrade the number 5. I'm not too concerned about the 1, Pete. in terms of a class. I think the 5 will go by the 1 at some point, if not outbreak. The 5's been working really well, guys. I mean, you see Bullet works. These are for good connections. I know the horse could be a little bit ouchy. I'm only 3 lifetime starts as a 5-year-old. I don't love that, guys. But Tim McCann is a very good trainer, puts Frankie Alvarado on. I think there might be a little more upside here, and I just don't think a lot of these horses will pass in general. So it's a little bit of a softer choice, but I do want speed in general, and I'm gonna go with the 5. If it does fall apart, at least by time form, Paul, the number 6 Spiritus is supposedly a better closer than the 7 just by the numbers. We'll see if that comes to fruition. 1 for 23 is not a likable stat on the win end. However, this horse is honest, will close, could close into a fast pace. Ayuso is actually 11%, which, guys, not too bad, really, considering that circuit. Really not too bad. He can win these kind of races. If it falls apart, I like Spiritus. We've all got this one.
Likes the 6 furlongs too.
Yes.
Does sort of
I like the
his
turn
best
back. I'm
running
a
at the
huge fan of
6.
turn backs,
Yeah.
as we've talked about also. So a lot of things to like. I think Spiritus is more likely to run better than my 5, but I think the 5 is more likely winner, specifically on the win end, if that makes any sense. Let's go to last race. And before we do that, I just want to mention very quickly, guys, if you watched our show last Saturday morning, our live Dubai show, or excuse me, Saudi show, Pete and Paul, we had almost 6,000 views. How about that? Unbelievable.
Awesome.
On that show. And if you are a fan of the podcast now, as our fandom is growing out west especially, and you happen to catch our Saudi show, we really do appreciate your viewership. We had a great time with 2 fantastic guys, Emmett Kennedy and Davey Lane. So we are going to have a show. We're planning one for Dubai also, guys, which I believe is the first weekend of April. They backed it up a week. So check that out when the time comes, because we like to cover international racing as well. Race 11. Last race. How are we going to get paid in the late pick 4? This race, guys. This
Good
is
race.
This is a good race. This is a fun race.
Whew. Not only is it a large field, it's talented, it's wide open. This is a great way, or a tough way, to close the late pick 4 and really close out what's going to be an unbelievable weekend at San Anita coming up here. So let's go to our picks. You see them on the bottom of the screen. This is optional allowance, 80,000. It's pretty much a grade 4, I suppose, if there were such a thing. It's almost $70,000 purse, 1 mile on the turf. Of course, we said the rails are out. Some of these are in for 80,000. It's for the boys. I'm going 137. Paul's going 315. Pete is going 412. Pete, you have a horse on top that neither Paul or myself have in the top 3. So I'm going to let you go first with not the number 7 horse, the number 4 horse, call sign 7. What do you like about the 4 for McCarthy, who could, by the way, have a very big weekend himself, and Rispoli?
Yeah. So this horse you see on the page there, 2 for, well, actually you can't see on the page there because we're not on the race, but in theory you would see on the page there. So this horse, the last 3 races were at a mile. The only loss was in the Mathis, grade 2, losing to King of Gosford. That was a pretty solid field, and this horse was trying to close into what turned out to be a pretty dawdling pace there. So I think that one you can basically forgive. But sort of likes the mile. I like that came back again, and I hate to reiterate myself, came back as a 4-year-old in the first race. You get the buyer top, you get the time form top, you get a win. Now we have 2 out of 3 wins going the mile. Also, the 2 wins, both with Lasix. We're getting Lasix back here again. In the grade 2, obviously you didn't have it. Now we're getting it here, and the 2 races off Lasix were pretty crappy. So that could be a thing. There's a class jump, so I think you're going to have to see. And the thing I don't want a repeat of that last race where there was some traffic and this horse was way back. I think these horses might be too good to run a race like that. But before that was at least mid-pack. I'd be happy mid-pack. You got Rispoli, it's McCarthy, who we all love on here. And I think you just you might get a move forward second as a 4-year-old. And if you do, you're going to get this horse right in the mix, and hopefully you can get – this is a pretty even field. I can't imagine the favorite's going to be pretty low, so I think you're going to get half-decent odds wherever you land. So there's a lot that I like about this one. I especially like the Lasix angle because there's such a difference in the two Lasix races against the two non.
Pete, even though this is McCarthy and Rispoli, based on the size and talent, I think you're getting 6-8 to 1 on this horse.
That's what I was thinking.
For
Yeah,
sure.
that's what I was thinking.
I
Yeah.
can't see anything less than 6 on this horse. So,
Yeah.
Interesting pick. And nice if you want a price in the last race and you want someone coming behind. I should notice also, Pete, of course, you are very well aware of this. Blue-coated figs in the last 3 races, other than 3 of the 4. So if there is some pace, that would absolutely help call sign 7. I think he's going to need some pace in this race.
I think so.
A bit of a fall apart, but it is very possible. Let's talk about the 3, Paul, your top choice. I like City Exile. I've got City Exile in second. I don't know what price we're getting. This is D'Amato and JJ. You're going to take a lot of money.
Yeah.
Doesn't need the lead. Is off a layoff, but similar to Chad Brown on the East Coast, Paul. I'm just not worried about these kind of layoffs. Only a 5-year-old. He knows the horse well now. Can fire fresh. Should get a nice stocky kind of inside trip, and to me is very likable here.
Yeah, I just think this horse is in the picture at the end. May not necessarily win, but we talked on our previous show about, we showed some replays of turf races bunching up at the wire. This horse is certainly, I think, in the picture, and it is D'Amato and JJ, which is going to hurt the price. But as you point out, when you were talking about Pete's horse, Howard, it is a big field. You do have Pratt in here on Grand Aspen to take some money. I love Jonathan. I love horses shipping west to begin with, especially Jonathan Thomas. I'm not positive of turf or dirt for this. So I know there's 3 really good turf races at the end of, or the middle of 23, but the breeding is really not turf. Dialed In is primarily a dirt sire. So I didn't really know what to make with this one. And knowing that Pratt's going to take more money than any of them, I went against him. So that's why I think the price on the 3 might not be as low as we think, Howard, just because it is a big field and Pratt's around to take some money. And you said it. I think trip-wise, this horse gets the type of trip that's going to put him right in the picture. And, is he good enough the last 10 strides? We'll find out. But certainly straight A on my grid.
I would be curious to see what the workout report says, Paul. This is one where I would pay attention to the workout report just because of the longer layoff. You would think this horse would want to run more at Del Mar, right? And Santa Anita in the fall. So I'm a little bit, I'm curious to know what happened there, but I'll get more intel. By the way, the other reason I look who he's lost to. Old Pal, really likable, good, one of the best California bred turf horses out there. Al Patente, who is going to be one of the co-favorites in the big mile race on Saturday, who is as sharp can be. So he's lost to some good ones also, Paul. I think City Exile has a big shot. But my top choice is the rail horse. And this is a fascinating horse. How about a Minnesota bred? This might be the most talented Minnesota bred that is definitely currently running at Sandy, and probably has run there in a long time. Eye on Rye for Ronald Ellis, who does not train a lot of horses. He's 0 for 17 this year, but he's an excellent horseman. He just doesn't have a lot of stock. He can still win races. Not only that, look who's riding. How about Victor Espinoza, who, again, doesn't ride often, but are we going to people are going to tell me he's not capable? You can't tell me that. He's going to sit a very nice trip. He ran huge last time, guys. You'd have to watch the replay. I'm not going to show it. He was wide almost every step against Al Patente and was right up to Al Patente's flank on the turn and just lost some ground in the stretch when Al Patente was getting really good. Escape Artist, 2-back, is a really good horse. This horse has faced some real nice ones. Is only 5 years old, 7-9 for the money. I just think this might be the class of the field. We'll sit a nice trip on the inside. And when you got names like JJ and Pratt and blah, 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 and this is Ellis and Espinoza, excuse my screen here, guys, I think I might get, I don't know, 7 to 2, 10, maybe $10 even. So that might be wishful thinking, but I'm going with Eye on Rye in a very, very challenging closeout leg and a good one at Santa Anita. Look who's in the chat. Noah Maher. What's up, Noah? I'm going to see you soon, my friend. Host of Pacific Horse Players. One of the sharpest young minds in the game, shall I say, along with many of our other fantastic co-hosts as well. Kyle Roscoe, Patrick Hunzel, Charlie Freeman, Ryan Anderson. Tip my cap to my younger co-hosts. City Exile worked with Almendaris and Uncorked, who both run on Saturday, and I like both of them. Good intel there, Noah Maher. Thank you very much. That just flatters the form, by the way, of City Exile, guys, for sure. Let's go to our best bets, and we'll wrap up the show here on a wonderful Wednesday night. Thanks for joining the HHH Racing Podcast on our usual Great Race Plays Sunday late pick 4 preview. Paul, race 9, my friend, talk to us. You're going double 1-8 with 7.
Well, the 8's the horse we talked about, Long May She Reign, and I also threw in the Pratt horse, Nancy Griffith, and I had to make my best bet into Cody Boy, didn't I?
Yes, you absolutely did. No other explanation or words necessary. Pete, you're going to go to race 9. You're going to play a pick 3, and not only that, it's not just your regular pick 3. It is your $3. That's right.
Love it.
$3 late pick
Love
3, and Pete's got a ticket for everyone to crush on Sunday. 3-7-8 with 6-8 with 1-2-4. That is 3 by 2, which is 6 times 3, which is 18 times another $3, boys and girls, which is a $54 ticket. Pete?
Yeah, nothing too out of the ordinary. Mostly just the horses that we talked about, but I really just like that bet, so I wanted to make sure we gave out at least one ticket for the pick 3 because it's a great bet and it'll pay.
Sure
I think, because I don't think this is the type of races where we're going to have a big favorite in any of them. I think they all should be relatively even. So I think a bet like that might be advantageous.
I like you throwing in the 2 Heart-Headed in the last race for a new claim for Hector Palma and Pereira. We didn't mention the number 2 Heart-Headed in the last race. I do like that 2 horse also, Pete, and would use somehow if I could afford it.
Palma's really good off the claim, by the way. Sorry. Palma's
good.
really good off the claim, yeah.
Yes. And we'll get we'll be a little further back, I think, than my top choice, but I like that horse. Guys, I'm going to the last race. I really like Ion Rye. I really do. I'm hoping to get an okay price. I'm going to put a win bet on the number 1 Ion Rye in the last race to close out the weekend on Sunday. And then I would exact a key Ion Rye around the 3, 7, and 10. So I go 1 with 3, 7, 10, reverse it 3, 7, 10 with 1. I'd probably Dutch it. For those who are not familiar with Dutching, that means I would bet different amounts to basically get the same result. So I'd look at the exacta will pays. That's a little bit of a contest kind of like a live money contest kind of play. And I would Dutch it to try to get the same amount for my payout and bet different values. But I like eye on Rye. Speaking of eyes, we have our eyes, guys, on a big Sunday card. Racing Down to Win. Who from the HHH team is making it to the NHC in Vegas 3 weeks from now? Double qualified, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Very excited. My first time that I am double qualified for the NHC. Accomplished that, coincidentally, Paul, at the Grey One Gamble weekend last April. Had a really nice weekend there. Hoping to do the same next month. But guys, I'm double qualified. I'm very excited. I've already, started to do some thinking about strategy and whatnot. It's a lot of fun. It's in 2.5 weeks. And we have a lot of people are going to be there, guys. Very excited from our podcast and competing. So, Paul, you will not be there this time, unfortunately. Is that correct?
No, I am basketball state final weekend here in Massachusetts. I did go last year for a few days because I was qualified as a result of the previous year's Grade 1 Gamble.
Yes.
But I honestly didn't, not saying I would have, but I really didn't make many attempts at all to qualify because it was quite a decision to have to get out there last year. And I was on a red eye home on Saturday when I didn't make the cut and landed at 7, and I was in an arena at 11. So I decided to not put myself through that again because, Pete, I'm not getting any younger, am I?
I mean, but you're glowing, so you're.
I am glowing.
That's
like
what
it
makes
too.
it all better.
I kind of like it.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
Just to piggyback on that, my first year, this is my 3rd year of the NHC, Pete, and my first year I was fortunate enough to get to I cashed and finished 40th out of 780. The only reason I bring it up is not because of that, but because I then had to change my flight because it ended later, and I did something similar to what Paul did. I took the red eye and I got home and I live in the Chicago area. My flight landed literally about 4:45 in the morning. Long story short, walked into my house at 5:45, quickly showered, got in my car, and half an hour later, I was in my car on my way to school. That was a rough Monday. That I was like, why'd take the day off? Well, I was sick the day or two before that. There's only so many days you can, take off. So, and the kids need me. The kids, so
Obviously.
Paul, I feel you. That next day, oof, that's rough. And it hits you about like 3 in the afternoon.
Well,
you're
and
ready to
I
take
had
a very long nap.
4 basketball games to watch that day. So
Oh.
you can imagine by the end
Wow.
of the 4th how alert I was.
By
All
the way, Jim cracked the NHC code here for you. Jim Pilaris, I'll offer a strategy suggestion. Pick winners. I like it, Jim. Write that
Hold on.
down.
Let me write that down. Pick.
Wait, don't. We should cut
Win.
this out of the show so all the other competitors don't see that.
That's right. Tell everyone to pick losers.
Yeah, we don't want them.
Anyway, if you're out in California, come to Vegas for the NHC. It's in 2 weeks. You'll see myself, a bunch of other people. It's a great tournament. It's a lot of fun. But what's also fun, of course, is Sunday's late pick 4 at Santa Anita. Bet the big cap. A lot of things going on this weekend. So for my wonderful co-hosts, Pete Visco, Paul Halloran, this has been your host, Howard Kravitz, episode 11 of Great Race Plays. Crush your bet all weekend, but especially the late pick 4 on Sunday. Take care. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.